Am I the asshole for not accepting my sister's relationship with my ex despite her having cancer as a teenager? My father married my stepsister's mother when I was 4 and she was 3. We've lived together most of our lives and are a family. She and I were extremely close. She developed cancer when she was 14 and was sick for about 2 years. She has since made a full recovery, and during that time, my parents became understandably overprotective. They also asked a lot of me. I quit my extracurriculars so I could get a job. The money went towards her medical bills, and so I could drive her to appointments. I didn't go to dances, and any fun activities I did needed to include her. I did almost all of this willingly, the exception being having to quit my high school volleyball team. I did throw a bit of a tantrum about that, but was swiftly punished. And I think having one emotional breakdown was pretty chill given the circumstances. Anyhow, I go to college and I meet my ex, we'll call him Ben, when I'm a junior. We fall in love, blah blah blah. He and I move in together when we graduate, so we've been living together for about 3 years. We were serious until July, when I walked into my bedroom and saw him screwing my sister. I broke it off, tears were shed, he moved out, etc. My sister apologized at first, but then she backed off. I thought she was giving me space, but last week she called and asked if we could meet up. She told me that she and Ben were in love and were just telling me as a courtesy before they started posting photos online. Distraught, I left her in the restaurant by herself and did not pay my portion of the bill. She later Venmo'd me asking for the money. She told my parents, who then called me to their house, telling me how disappointed in me they are for not supporting my sister's relationship with Ben. They brought up the fact that because she had cancer as a teenager, she never learned proper social etiquette and has a hard time meeting people. I don't buy this, in part because I've seen her socialize just fine, and since we spent a good chunk of the time she was sick together, that would also mean that I should have bad social skills as well, by that logic. They then told me that if I don't accept my sister and Ben's relationship, they may have to go no contact with me. I reminded them that I'm also their daughter, and they should understand my point of view, but they are adamant that this is about me being jealous of her. For the record, I am not jealous of her. I'm not upset that Ben picked her over me. I'm sad about the end of the relationship, and I do feel betrayed, but Lord knows that I don't want to be with a cheater. What I'm upset about is the fact that my sister chose Ben over me, that she slept with Ben knowing he and I were in a long-term committed relationship, and continues to be with him knowing how much it hurts me. Now no one in my immediate family is talking to me, and I'm getting messages from aunts and uncles and cousins telling me that I'm an asshole and a selfish tramp. Now in the comments, Talia says, "Not the asshole. Your parents are enablers. Cancer as a teen did not shrink wrap her and isolate her from the entirety of human morals and values forever and ever. Amen." From what you describe, it sounds disturbingly like you've been deemed the cannon fodder of the family. Take some time for yourself and put them on the back burner. The audacity of her parents to think that OP should get over it and accept the new relationship. She walked in on her partner and sister. I'm sure stepmom wouldn't take it lightly if she walked in on his dad doing his sister-in-law. Cancer schmancer. Not only that, but excusing it because she never learned social etiquette. I'm pretty sure even a child who was raised by wolves could figure out that screwing your sister's boyfriend is a no-no. Not the asshole. I had cancer as a teenager, and I've managed not to have sex with either of my siblings' partners, weirdly enough. OP replies, "Maybe you're on a different treatment plan." God, you're right. It'll be the socialized healthcare stopping me from living this timeline. Also, I really am very sorry that your entire family are terrible. You are handling this with the grace that few could manage. And OP replies, "Oh, don't you worry. I'm totally falling apart right now. I just have a dark sense of humor and have no choice but to keep going with my life." And someone replies to OP, "Listen, Lost Papaya. You are objectively a hot, classy lady from this story alone. You have not called out your parents, sister, or ex on social media yet. You clearly have not mass texted relatives what's up yet. Instead, you got up from the table and left your sister with a bill. That's hot, strong girl crap right there. I also think hot girl crap is calling them all out for the bullcrap, laying down a mean no-contact ultimatum, and then running off into the wilderness for a few days without your phone for sanity. But I'm not close to anyone involved, and of course, I can burn bridges with total internet strangers. And now back to the post. Edit. Thank you everyone so much for your comments. This has gotten more attention than I expected, and I'm having trouble keeping up. So if I don't say thank you, then thank you. I've been given a lot of food for thought. To be honest, while I've had moments where I've been resentful or upset about my teenage years, I've always thought that I did the right thing for my sister and for my family, and that time wasn't all miserable. I was very close to my sister, and we made things as fun as we could, but I didn't think of it as an abdication of my parents' responsibilities, or that they were doing wrong by me, which many of you pointed out. I definitely have a lot to think about. Thank you again for making me feel less crazy about all of this. And if you guys thought that was over, oh god no. Update. Sometimes you can only laugh. Just got off the phone with my cousin who saw this post, and he could explain a few things. I asked him why he was on Reddit instead of school, and he asked me why I was on Reddit instead of work, and I said touché. He told me that after my conversation with my mum, she went to his house and talked to my aunt. And here's the deal. Turns out my sister is not only in a relationship with Ben, but 4 months pregnant, which means her and Ben were banging for longer than I had even guessed. Apparently, my parents are so adamant that I forgive her because I'm already ruining their experience of their first grandchild. That's right, I'm less important than my stepmom posting ultrasounds to Facebook. This is where we're at. Anyhow, I called out of work sick for the rest of the day, and I'm going to drink a lot of alcohol. Like, a lot of alcohol, and then start thinking about what the hell I'm going to do. And from me to you, OP, I wish you all the best in that. That sounds worse than being in the first round of Squid Game. And Lord knows that I wouldn't know what to do either in this situation, let alone the first round of Squid Game. I hope you find happiness. And our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for never visiting or calling my parents after they abandoned me? My parents told me, 20 female, that I'm no longer welcome to live at home once I turned 18 since I'm an adult. I go to college across the country and I never call or visit them. Every long weekend and holiday break, when every other student goes home to their families, I stay at school or go and hang out at my friends with their families. During summer vacation, I travel with my friends around the country or do some summer study abroad. My parents complain bitterly to our extended family that their only child never wants to see or talk to them. The way I see it, they disowned me and abandoned me when I turned 18. I have no interest in seeing them. They showed they don't actually care about me or want me as a daughter, so I'll stay with my friends who actually have good parents and who are appalled by my own parents. Or I'll travel the world instead. I don't need my parents, and they clearly don't want me as their daughter. Am I the asshole for not calling or visiting? And edit, for those asking, I have a full academic scholarship that pays for my college and summer stipend to study abroad and travel. My friends' parents also treat me like their kid now, and I travel with my friends. My parents said that I'm not welcome to live at home in the summer, and I never visit either. Now in the comments, your parents be like, you can't come back. And you reply, alright, I don't come back. Parents, surprised Pikachu face. Not the asshole. This happened to my friends in high school. They were twins, and on their 18th birthday, their parents said that they were moving to Florida in 2 weeks and not taking them. The house was already sold. We still had 6 more months of high school. My friends couch surfed for months, and their parents are still shocked years later that their kids disowned them, and how could they do this? I actually have my own story like that. When I was growing up on my original street, 2 doors down from me, this friend that I had that was much older than me, well, his mum decided that as soon as the sister, who was younger than that guy, had turned 18, she was just packing up ship and moving to the other side of the country. So yeah, for me that was like, whoa, what is going on? How can she just leave you guys like that? Starting life again in Perth. You love to see it. Definitely was a shock to the system for those two, that's for sure. Not the arsehole. You can't just kick out someone fresh out of high school to fend for themselves like that, and then get mad when they don't visit. And OP replies, I want nothing to do with them because they clearly just saw me as a burden to discard when I turned 18. Otherwise, I'd be living with them like all the kids with normal parents are right now. Keep doing you. My mum did the same thing to me, which forced me to enlist in the Air Force. Yeah, my life turned out alright, and I still see them from time to time, but we are definitely not as close as we could have been. Yep, I really never want to see them. This is what they get for abandoning me. Not the arsehole. Your parents basically threw you out. There is this incredibly damaging idea that kicking kids out when they turn 18 or finish high school will build character and make them independent. But it's wrong and misguided. Stay away, go where love and respect is given freely to you. Blessings forever. And our next post is titled, Am I the arsehole for refusing to stop seeing my granddaughter despite my son's wishes? So my son, 40, is what people call a ladies' man. I had no problem with it until last year when he got a girl 20, pregnant, because he said that condoms don't work for him, so they had unprotected sex. When he found out about the baby, he blocked the mum and ghosted her for a month. He came to tell me about it, and one of his baby mums reached out again, saying that he didn't have to care for the baby, but that he had to pay child support. I was shocked and told him that he could either step up or not, but that I would have a relationship with the child because it is my only grandchild. He chose not to step up and tried to fight child support, but a month ago he was placed on it. Now that my granddaughter Lily is born, I've been helping her pay for everything because her mum is in college and my son quit his job, so payments would go down. I am very disappointed in him. I watch Lily during her mum's classes and pay for her to have a nanny so the mum can work hard to get her degree. Money is no problem for my family, but my son is very angry that I'm helping them out. He says that they should not get my money, and that if the mum needed help, then she should have aborted it. I told him that I will continue to help them because my granddaughter is innocent in this, and that he was the one who refused to wear a condom, so they should not have their life ruined. He said that it's either him or them, and I said that I would always help my granddaughter. He has stopped talking to me, and my daughter said that I went too far and that I should just cut ties with them. Am I the arsehole for helping them against my son's wishes? Now in the comments, not the arsehole, but your son is a giant arsehole. He is entitled and selfish and frankly creepy that at 40 he knocked up a 20-year-old. He needs to grow up. I would disinherit him in a heartbeat, write a will that cannot be challenged, and make sure to get an attestation from a medical professional stating that you were of sound of mind when the will was drafted. This, OP, it sounds like your son has written himself out of the will. Continue to give your granddaughter all the love and support in the world, and good on you for rightfully placing the blame on your son instead of putting the baby's mother down like a lot of people do in situations like this. I can't get over how awful your son is being. He's behaving the way that I'd expect a 15-year-old to, not a man almost 3 times that age. He's the arsehole for having sex with a 20-year-old when he's 40, he's the arsehole for pulling the whole condoms don't work thing, he's the arsehole for ghosting the mum, he's the arsehole for fighting child support, he's the arsehole for quitting his job to lower his child support, and honestly, how does he think that's going to work? It's just going to go back up when he gets a new job. He's the arsehole for making you choose between him and your granddaughter, and he's the arsehole for trying to control how you spend your money. I think he wins my biggest arsehole of the year award because, wow, dude. You are an amazing person for stepping in and helping the mum with childcare so she can finish her degree. That alone will set your granddaughter up for so much success because her mum will have much better opportunities in life. A woman's life shouldn't end just because she gets pregnant unexpectedly and young. But too often, mothers are put in impossible situations. What you are doing is invaluable, and I hope you continue. And, since your son seems to have taken out the trash, I hope you can get closer with your granddaughter's mom and involve her in the family so she has a bigger support net. Not the arsehole OP. And, again, please write an ironclad will that takes your son out completely and gives his whole portion to that innocent baby girl that he so callously abandoned. Am I the asshole for bringing my child to my sister's wedding? So I, 33 female, have a son Alfie, 9 male. My sister Erin, 26 female, just got married. On the invitations, she asked that the wedding remain child-free. I don't personally agree with child-free weddings, but I respect Erin's choice and I arranged for my friend to come watch Alfie for the day. The day of the wedding, my friend called me and told me that she was really sorry, but wasn't feeling well and didn't think that she would be up to watching Alfie. I really do appreciate her being mindful of that, especially as she ended up finding out that it's COVID. But it left me in an inconvenient place, because that was the only option I had even thought to line up, and I had to leave at noon, as my friend called at 6:30. I really didn't know what else to do, so I ended up taking Alfie with me. It was a big wedding, so I didn't end up talking to Erin until the reception, which is good, because she was pissed at me. She reminded me again that the wedding was not for kids, and for good reason, seeing as me and my parents were too focused on Alfie. He is a 9-year-old boy at a grown-up wedding he didn't know he was going to. I hardly think it's reasonable for us to not acknowledge him and how well he is doing. I said my sitter fell through, and Erin's husband said, "That's not our problem." She was just not going to drop this regardless of what explanation I gave, so my mum ended up taking Alfie home with her while Dad stayed at the wedding. At that point, the mood had been ruined, and I was honestly just over it all, so I just left. Erin is still claiming that I owe her an apology. I'm not sure what for, as it's not like I maliciously foisted Alfie on her. If she can't be civil to and about a little boy, I think that says far more about her. And she has a 4-month-old daughter, and she was there, so it wasn't even child-free on Erin's part either. I just want to know if I'm really an asshole here. Now in the comments, you're the asshole. And how come your mum took Alfie home and you stayed? Damn, I'd be mad too if my mum left to babysit your child on my wedding day. Based off context clues, I'm guessing it's the stepsister's wedding and the buyer dad stayed while OP's mum, the stepmom to the bride, left the wedding. I think it's more likely that the mum just wanted to keep the peace and sacrificed her own desire to be at the wedding to keep people from arguing. My jaw dropped. If anyone should have left, it was OP. And OP left too a while later. I wonder why she didn't leave earlier with her kid. You're the asshole, OP. You could have arranged for another friend, or maybe dropped your kid at the nearest daycare. Also, it'd be much wiser if you could have talked to your sister about your plan falling through a bit earlier, rather than showing up with the kid in tow. You could have informed the bride. Also, I'm appalled at your audacity to try to blame your sister for her wishes on her wedding day. Have someone knock some sense into you. It was her day. She had every right to dictate and enforce what she wanted on her day. Her kid was not any guest, but was one of the hosts. How can you even think of justifying your train of thoughts? Ew. And quote, maybe drop your kid at the nearest daycare? That's not even remotely how daycare works. You're the asshole. Your mum ended up leaving her own daughter's wedding just to babysit your kid. Honestly selfish of you, because for me, that would be the one person I would want at my wedding the most. You're the asshole. It said child-free. If you can't get a sitter, then you respect the couple's wishes and don't go, and just send them a note. Hey, sorry I couldn't go, sitter fell through and I didn't want to be disrespectful. And that would have given the bride the chance, if she wanted to say to OP, hey, I would rather have you here than to stick to the no children rule, so bring Alfie with you. But to just turn up with the specifically not invited child and brazen it out is not okay. And then to let their mother take him home rather than go herself is just bizarre. Our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for causing my husband to miss his trip by not packing his bag despite him repeatedly asking? My husband travels for work every few months. He is irresponsible with time and counts on others to do stuff for him using the "I'm tired" excuse. He's the breadwinner, by the way. He had a business trip, and the day of the trip, he saw me carrying the laundry basket and said, "Hey, can you pack my bag?" I asked why he didn't do it the night before, and he said that he was up all night playing Fortnite. I asked why can't he pack now, and he replied, "I gotta go catch up with the boys before I leave the country." I said no, and that he should do it himself. He asked why not, and I told him that I had to do the laundry and then cook for the kids, and then help them with homework, and then wash the rugs, and then clean the messy bathroom, and then the playing room, and then work on my garden project. He stood there with his eyebrow lifted up as I went on. I suggested he stay home, pack his own bag, and help around until it was time for his trip. He didn't like my suggestion and complained about missing the boys and wanting to see them one last time and to say goodbye before he leaves. He begged, but I said no. He then suddenly went inside the bedroom. I thought he was packing, grabbed his phone, keys, and jacket, and rushed out. I just went about my day. It was 5 o'clock and he hadn't returned yet. I was concerned, thinking he had little time and still hadn't packed yet. He returned home at 6, walked into the bedroom, and started panicking, asking why his bag wasn't packed and ready yet. I told him he should ask himself since he stayed gone for hours. He said he was counting on me to pack his bag, and even sent me a text hoping that I'd eventually do it. I didn't see the text, and even if I did, I never agreed, so he shouldn't have assumed I was going to pack his bag for him. He got upset and started packing. His stuff was all over the place and he couldn't even find his papers. He was finally done and then left. I then got an angry call from him asking if I was happy. I said why, what happened, and he said he missed his flight, just like I wanted. He came home and lost it, saying that I cost him his business trip, which is supposed to earn him money, and made him look unreliable and unprofessional, and compromised his work after I refused to do him this small favor and pack his goddamn bag. I responded that he shouldn't have hung out with his buddies literally hours before his flight, but he said that he believed this was done spitefully to get him to sit home with me. I was shocked. No words, just shocked face. He called his friend saying his trip didn't happen, and then turned to me and said thanks to me. Then proceeded to ask where they were going to meet for dinner. He then told me, "No trip, meaning I'll be home for the next couple of weeks. Isn't that what you wanted? Great, we'll both now stay home and wallow in misery. God bless." And then walked out. Am I the asshole? He said that I just caused him issues at work. Should I have packed his bag anyway? And question, why couldn't he be on the next flight? Because since he missed his flight that the company was paying for, he was required to pay for the other flight or not go. He refused to pay, saying it wasn't his fault anyway, and decided to not go. Now in the comments, quote, "Am I the asshole? Should I have packed his bag anyway?" No. But you should be packing his bags now. Tell him he can come home once he starts acting like an adult and showing you some respect. Seriously, not the asshole. I would consider counseling. Even if the rest of your relationship is sound, he's got a weird attitude and entitlement, which would be better for everyone if he worked on. Not the asshole. When he said that he'll miss the boys, I thought he meant your kids. When I learned that they were his friends, I was stunned. He prioritized a gathering with his friends over packing for his trip. He didn't need so much time with them. He can't blame you for that. You do a plethora of chores around the house, and he expected you to pack his suitcase for him? It is plain entitlement. You clarified to him that you aren't going to do that, but he didn't pack it anyway. I was like, surely OP can pack the bags instead of doing a gardening project so he can spend time with his kids. But no. Her husband was being an adult baby. He doesn't want to be at home, which means he's neglecting his kids' emotional needs. No wonder OP is so busy, as well as his marriage. Not the asshole. And he chose Fortnite over packing his bags. OP is entitled to do their gardening project. He chose Fortnite and then a multi-hour hangout with his friends over his job. OP not changing her plan for the days to pack the bags for his trip is reasonable. How long does it really take to pack? He could have hung out with his friends for 3 hours instead of 4. What a child. He's holding the family hostage to get her compliance, or else he will let himself get fired versus being a responsible adult. The refusal to take responsibility is a huge red flag. I'd be worried he might be fired over this. If a task is delegated to his wife, packing for his trip, and not completed, he is responsible. The company hired him, not his wife. That's all on him, and for him not to see that is just astounding, not the asshole. Our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for not wanting to pay for my coworker's new aquarium? My coworker has a 20-gallon aquarium in her office that's been there a year. It's sitting on a very long shelf. Without thinking, I leaned on the shelf with my full weight while getting something from her desk. I stopped leaning and the shelf shook and the tank fell and shattered all over the floor. She was at lunch when this happened. Some of the text helped me get all her female betas into cups. When she came back from lunch, she freaked out and screamed at me, telling me no one should be in her office to begin with her not being there. 4 of her 7 beta died, and about half her plants. She brought me a receipt this morning saying that I needed to reimburse her. It came out to $250 worth of plants, rocks, and other stuff, which is insane. She also told me that she had ordered $75 of specifically bred female betas from the same breeder that she got her previous fish from. She said sororities are extremely hard to keep, and that I just added stress because now she has to start over. Half of my office says I should not have to pay for it because it was her choice to build it, and the other half says I should. Would I really be the asshole if I refused to pay? She should have had a sign saying don't touch the shelf if it was that flimsy. Now in the comments, you're the asshole. You destroyed her property, killed her fish, and are not taking any responsibility for your F-up. If what she says is true, that you shouldn't have been in her office, add that to the list of other reasons that you're the asshole. If you don't pay, you're going to be that person at work. Is that what you want, especially since it'll be true because you trashed her setup and killed her fish? You're the asshole. You caused the tank to fall. And why were you in her office when she wasn't there? Why the hell are you leaning your full weight against an aquarium in the first place? Yeah, I was reading this part like, who the hell leans on an aquarium, even a little bit? And also, it's not exactly easy to push over a 20-gallon aquarium. This thing is like 250 pounds plus, full of water and gravel and stuff. How did you destroy the whole thing by leaning on it? You're the asshole. So you're telling us that you went into her space and broke her crap, but somehow that's her fault for having her crap in her space. And now back to the post, OP has an update and says, I am aware that I am the asshole, okay? I will be paying for anything and everything that she needs. I wrote this when I was in shock due to the cost, but you've made me realize I'm 100% wrong. I will also be giving her extra for compensation. Our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for forcing him to hold up his end of the bargain? Long story short, 3 years ago my fiance's mum was trying to leave a relationship and needed a place to stay. At that time we lived in a very small, cramped, 2-bedroom apartment, with the second bedroom converted into my office because I work from home and need the space for my employment equipment. 2 monitors, printer, fax, filing cabinets, etc. Despite me saying I truly didn't want to give up my space, he begged and pleaded until I finally gave in. He said, and I quote, "When the day comes, you know I would do the same for you if your family ever needed it." I was honestly still far, far from happy because realistically speaking, his mum didn't need a place to go at all. The house that her and her boyfriend had was in fact hers, and she had owned it for years. So why she was the one to move out is beyond me. It wasn't even a toxic relationship. She just wasn't feeling it anymore. Fast forward 2 months of her staying, she has completely taken over my office space, and I have my equipment set up in the only other spot available, directly in front of my TV. She moves out and back in with her boyfriend. She never paid a dime and didn't even bother taking most of her crap with her, which took me more than 3 days to clear out with my fiancé. Not impressed. Anywho, we upgrade. We bought a 4-bedroom home last year with plans of expanding our family. This was prior to finding out that he is infertile. It sucks, honestly, but it is what it is. I'm not wildly upset about it. However, my mum just lost her home due to foreclosure. She was renting and the landlord didn't pay his rent, I'm guessing mortgage, so the house was foreclosed and she was given a 3-day notice to quit. My mum has my siblings with her, 14-year-old twins. They are very well behaved and clean kids. She needs a place to go and we have 2 rooms available. I bring it up with my fiancé and he immediately says that he isn't comfortable with it and that he doesn't want his home to feel like it isn't his by allowing other people to move in and take over. So I brought up his agreement years back and stated that I allowed his mother to move in for literally no reason, whereas my mother legit needs a place. He is now saying that that was years ago, and the situation is 100% different because there wasn't 2 teenagers running the house when his mum moved in. He says I'm an asshole for trying to force this on him and make him do something he isn't comfortable with. Am I the asshole? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I feel like an asshole because the situation is in fact different, but my mum needing a place is a need, not a want. Now in the comments, I have no words, OP. I would rethink the fiancé status. He's up to bat and proving he doesn't value your family the way he demands you to value his. How about offering him to stay with his mummy dearest if he can't fathom sharing a 4-bedroom home with your siblings for a short period of time? I mean, she should return the favor, eh? Not the asshole. You deserve better. And also, the intention was to eventually have a kid or more with you. Does he assume a child wouldn't grow into a teenager? Unfortunately, some parents like little kids and only want little kids. Once they stop being cute to them, they don't give the same amount of attention and love that they did when they were toddlers. So, they have more. I knew a guy who just kept having children over and over with his wife, and he showed a lot of neglect and distaste towards his teenage son, who was often forced to babysit the younger kids. Mysteriously though, he was always very active and loving with the toddlers. And someone else says, wait. He wanted you to give up space that you use for work purposes and paycheck purposes for his mother, who had literally no reason to leave her own home that she legitimately owns. Then, he says that your mother with 2 teenagers, who are presumably easier to handle than, say, toddlers, aren't allowed in any of the 2 bedrooms, assuming one is used for your workspace, even though there were circumstances beyond her control that made her homeless. I'm assuming your mother only lost her home, and I'm also assuming that she did not lose her job. That she isn't subsidizing predominantly on any welfare programs like Section 8 housing or other such housing subsidies. And if this is the case, then it sounds like a very temporary arrangement. Your mother does otherwise have the means to afford her own place, but just needs time to save for it. Am I correct in assuming this? Otherwise, I don't know if there is possibly any extra info to ask for that would ever make me think to the contrary. But you are not the asshole. And OP replies, you are correct. So my mother is a full-time RN, 12 years strong. She would pay rent and not expect to live for free, despite me never asking. Which is more important than I can say for his mother, who didn't lift a finger to help with bills or cleaning. My mum is also a clean freak, so I know our home would never be in shambles. Am I the asshole for giving my son a unique name? I, 27 male, just had my first child, a beautiful little boy. Ever since I was young, I've really loved books and literature. My favorite book series of all time is The Lord of the Rings. I also really love Shakespeare. So when my wife and I were thinking of names for our kid, I suggested a rather unique name, Benwise. It's a combination of Benvolio and Samwise. Me and my wife both thought that it was really clever and a perfect name for a boy, so that's what we named him. We hadn't shared name ideas with either of our families, so when we told them what his name was, they were surprised. As soon as we told them, most of our family berated us for giving our son a weird name. They said that he would grow up being bullied for his name and would end up resenting us. I do agree that it's not a typical name, and he might be made fun of because of it, but in my opinion, if kids are going to make fun of you, they will make fun of you whether you have a funny name or not. Also, if he really doesn't like the name, he can always go by Ben. At the end of the day, I would rather my son have a unique name like Benwise than a boring-ass name like Jack or Adam. No offense to the Jacks or Adams of the world. So am I the asshole for giving my son a unique/weird name? Now in the comments, you're the asshole. The only person who comes out benefiting from this name is you and your partner. In general, you're an asshole when you choose to give your kid weird names, and this is just another case of that. And I'm not just talking about the bullying. Think of when he starts working. Imagine him hanging a shingle as a lawyer under the name Benwise whatever-esque. People won't take him seriously. And the harassment. This is a bad idea. It would have been wise to give this kid a regular name. You're the asshole. Your child is not a billboard for your fandoms. I don't understand why you'd have a child only to preemptively waste hours of their life having to explain their name. I have an extra letter in an otherwise boring name, and every time I have to fill in forms or do paperwork or meet someone new, I need to explain the spelling. I imagine that experience would be amplified 60 times for a name you've entirely made up. By all means, give your child a middle name that's linked to your interests, or a first name that's more of a subtle reference. Trying to use your child as a flag for your super cool uniqueness is an asshole move in my opinion. And you're the asshole. Quote, I would rather my son have a unique name? But it's not about you. Your son is the one who will bear the burden of your fancies. He'll be an adult one day with a cutesy name because you like Lord of the Rings. If you like it so much, change your name to Benwise, or get a pet that you name Benwise. Your son is his own person, not someone you can project stuff on. Our next post is titled, Would I be the asshole if I made a donation in the name of an acquaintance who does not support the cause? I'm 28 male, getting married this year to another man, 27 male. Most of our guests have been very supportive, but we received a letter from one couple telling us that they do not support us and won't be able to attend our event. They also stated that they hope that we find the truth. While I am disappointed, this also means that we'll save a little money on the wedding on food, alcohol, etc. I think it's obvious that they are the asshole for sending this letter, but I'm wondering, would I be the asshole for taking the following action? I would like to donate the money that I'll save to an LGBTQ organization in their name. I'm hoping that I or the organization will be able to send them a receipt/a thank you for the donation. Would I be the asshole? Now in the comments, you're the asshole. But I fully support it and am also an asshole. Every year for Christmas, I give my conservative relatives a donation in their name to whatever cause upsets them the most of the time. Planned Parenthood, gun control advocacy, etc. This year, it's looking like they'll be donating to Black Lives Matter. Sometimes the world needs assholes to do the right thing. You're the asshole, but a good one, a clever one, and a revolutionary one. Screw them bigots. God, if we ever needed a justifiable asshole judgment. What you're doing is not harming anyone other than rubbing some much-needed ire in the overly inflated egos of two bigots. Not the asshole. Go for it. Agreed. A little bit trolly, but justifiable and not actually hurting anyone. OP literally wants to make a donation to a cause they believe in. In lieu of a justified asshole vote, I've got to go not the asshole. If OP feels conflicted, just don't send a thank you note to the bigoted ex-guests and keep it as an inside joke. Although I think the note would be perfectly justifiable. You would be the asshole. This takes trolling to a whole new level. You would be wrong to do it, but at the same time, you would be effing awesome if you did this. If it's okay with you, I shall borrow your idea and use it myself in the future. Sometimes being in the wrong is justifiably right. This is one such time. Our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for tricking my 25 female daughter, 6 female, by showing her the New Year's Eve ball drop from 2018 and telling her it was the 2021 and sending her to bed? I feel kind of conflicted. She had been so excited to stay up for the new year and watch the NYC ball drop on TV. She had her little party hat and noisemaker to blow and was looking forward to the big event all day and night. I did not want her to stay up because I wanted to party and get wasted with my friends, and I didn't really want her to see me and my friends getting crap-faced. I showed her a YouTube video of the ball dropping from 2018, and everyone at my party pretended it was 2020 and screamed Happy New Year's and blew our noisemakers, and she was so excited. This was about 4 hours before the real New Year's in our country. After that, I tucked her into bed, and she went to sleep with a smile on her face. I kind of feel like crap now because I tricked her. Am I the asshole? Now, in the comments, you're the asshole. I was ready to say not the asshole, but then you say that you sent her to bed so you could get drunk with your friends. That's kind of messed up that you would rather do that than stay up with your daughter. Totally agree. At first I was feeling not the asshole, but doing it so you can get screwed up when clearly it meant a lot to your daughter to stay up and celebrate is just an asshole thing to do. Okay, but the reality is, a 6-year-old would probably just be tired and grumpy and not actually enjoy it that much at midnight. I usually don't support lying to kids, but this seems really harmless. I agree, but that's not the reason she gave. She just said she wanted her kid out of the way. It is actually pretty responsible to put a very young child to bed instead of exposing them to even very casual drinking circumstances with adult conversations. Not the arsehole/no arseholes here. People on this thread are being ridiculous. I used to have to go to bed before New Year's Eve parties ended when I was OP's daughter's age, and my parents and grandparents would still carry on drinking. It's a lot more responsible of OP to send her daughter to bed early and have her sleeping upstairs rather than around everyone drinking alcohol. She isn't going to completely forget about her daughter just because she had a few drinks. I think it's a great idea that you gave her her own little New Year's Eve party. Chances are, she might not have even made it to midnight anyway and would have been disappointed the next day when she found out she missed it. This way she went to bed with a big smile on her face. I bet she had a great night, and that's a great memory that you both will always have. Our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for telling my fiancé I don't like her wedding dress? So my fiancé and I are getting married in 9 months. She's been dress shopping with her girls for months now. She found the dress that she loved and bought it, and was too excited to keep it a secret. She showed me pics of the bridesmaids' dresses, and I told her they were pretty. They match my groomsmen's suits really well. Anyway, she brought her dress out and asked what I thought. I specifically asked her if she wants the God's honest truth and wants me to critique the dress, or if she knows she loves it and just wants to show me. She said she wanted my opinion. She put the dress on and came out of the bathroom, and I would be lying if I said that I wasn't a little disappointed. She's a very beautiful woman and looks incredible in anything, of course, but the dress completely dwarfed her and didn't really fit the wedding theme that she has worked so hard for. She wanted a foresty, magical, and whimsical type theme, flower crowns on the bridesmaids, etc. But she chose a super sparkly dress with a huge skirt, which looked nothing like the simple, body-hugging, and sexy dresses she had been repeatedly showing me. She picked basically a huge Disney princess dress, and I just didn't like how it looked at all. I was honest when I told her I didn't like it, and I was surprised she picked it because it just doesn't seem to match her, and I just thought that it was too much puff and sparkle. She got really quiet and stormed back upstairs, and then stormed out of the house and went to her mom's. She texted me saying that she couldn't believe that I would say that I didn't like it, and what a D-bag I am, and has blocked my number. This is our first major fight, and I'm just so annoyed because I asked if she wanted a real opinion, and she said yes. Am I the asshole for telling her I don't like the dress? Edit to add, I read my credit card statement. The dress was $9,000. might help explain the reaction. Oh, you don't like this $9,000 dress? Great, because I can't return it. Probably went through her head. I don't know what to do but sit here and laugh. Is laugh crying a thing? Now in the comments, oh OP, you are not an asshole, but you're an idiot. She's bought the dress. Hundreds, likely thousands have been spent on it. You can't return it. So now she has to fork out a crap ton more money to buy her second choice gown or wear something she knows that you won't like. No matter what, she will now feel crappy about her clothes on your wedding day. What possible good could come of telling her that you don't like the dress she already bought? Advice? Tell her that with some minor alterations that you would love it. That it was just that it didn't fit quite right or that some sparkles were wrong. Pick something she can fix, and then maybe you can save her feelings. And OP replies, damn, I feel like a major idiot right now. Definitely noted. The important thing here is owning it. Also, every Disney princess has her woodland animals and puffy dresses until Elsa. So they're not opposites. Soft, you're the asshole, but I hope you can fix this. Right? Like, a big puffy Disney dress says woodland magical fairy tale to me far more than a sexy figure-hugging dress does. All I can think about reading this is Giselle in Enchanted. Her regular style was 100% gorgeous art nouveau, and then her wedding dress was a straight-up sparkle-tastic cupcake style. And you know what? It worked. Everyone sucks here. You are a fool for thinking that she wanted an honest, blunt answer. She is a fool for asking for an honest opinion when she didn't want one. Fools abound. I think she didn't actually ask. I mean, if my boyfriend asked me, do you want an honest answer? I'd say nah, just lie to me. Like, what kind of question is that? It already implies that you've got something to hide and you're already thinking about something negative. I think everyone would go for the honest answer. He shouldn't have asked her the question, period. And our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for leaving the room without a word after my fiancé proposed? I am 26 female, he is 26 male. We've been together for 3 years. We've been actively discussing future life plans. We always wanted the same things in life, and we agreed on most of the topics and decisions. One of the things we discussed a year ago was ideas about how he wanted to propose. He talked about a proposal in the mountains or in a forest, something outdoors, which is simple but romantic to us. I was very happy and excited. Not to mention we live in between mountains and forests, so it was easily accessible. We've been discussing this many times, even dropping ideas of which mountains would be the most romantic. We hiked together, so we thought the very first mountain we've been to, for example. We also discussed who should propose to who, and he told me he really wanted to be the one doing it. Yesterday, after I came home from work exhausted, we cooked, watched TV, and at some point, I went to the hallway to hang a coat. He then followed me, and he proposed. Between the shoes and the floor, the kitchen and the restroom, he was kneeling. I couldn't believe it. It was such a disappointment knowing what we always talked about. I felt let down. I had a lot of thoughts at once in my head. Here is my probable asshole move. I was so hurt that I couldn't say a word. I couldn't even accept it. I looked at him, looked around me as I couldn't believe where he proposed, and felt the tears in my eyes. I nodded and walked past him to lay on the bed and cry. He took some time before following me and asking if anything was wrong. I told him I expected something different, but would marry him regardless. My friends are mixed about it, but a few of them did say I was being ungrateful and that it's the thought that counts. He wants to marry me after all, and maybe this is the only thing that counts. Am I the asshole? Now in the comments, after all that discussion, I'd ask him what prompted him to propose right then. No assholes here. You can't help how you felt. I would judge differently though if you two hadn't discussed how to propose. I'd be a little miffed, like, why the big lead up then? But you should explain that the big lead up led to bigger expectations. I'm thinking he was just enjoying the moment with her and probably had the ring for a while, and the thought popped into his head. I want to be with OP forever. I want her to be my wife, and I can't wait another day, and then proceeded to impulse propose. Yeah, and that's pretty lame in my opinion. A proposal is something your partner will think of every time they look at their engagement ring. You really want it to be a snap decision you made after washing the dishes? Not saying this would never work or can't be done romantically, but in this situation, it was clearly thoughtless. Quote, a few of them did say that I was being ungrateful and that it's the thought that counts. He wants to marry me after all, and maybe this is the only thing that counts. By that logic, there is nothing wrong whatsoever with you nodding and leaving the room. Your fiancé should be thrilled. He is being ungrateful. It is the thought that counts. You confirmed that you wanted to marry him after all, and maybe this is the only thing that counts. If a proposal is a proposal, and it doesn't matter because it's the marriage that's important, and apparently two things can't be done right, then an acceptation is an acceptation, and it doesn't matter because it's the marriage that is important. Except that they don't believe this. They blame you. They see a problem in your reaction because clearly they don't believe in it themselves. Your reaction wasn't great, but the proposal sucked and your friends are hypocrites. This is a really good point. If she's supposed to be thrilled with him kneeling down in the hallway, he can be thrilled with her nodding and walking away. If he doesn't, he obviously cares more about the proposal than about her. Then by that logic, she must obviously care more about the proposal than him. That's not the same thing. If they'd ever discussed it, OP would probably have been fine with this proposal. It seems to me that she's upset because they were always on the same page and somehow ended up here. Very much not anything near what they had discussed. It probably feels like an indication that they're not as much on the same page as she thought. That would certainly be upsetting to me. And OP replies, I think the issue is here because we discussed in length what we both wanted. I felt disappointed when it didn't match our ideas at all. To me, if we didn't talk about it at all and he proposed in any way, well, he's no mind reader, so how could he know that it was something that I wouldn't like? But we discussed what we both wanted, liked, or disliked, and this was a typical example of things that I really didn't hope for. Like a lot of comments previously said, maybe he was too excited. Maybe he has a reason that I'm not aware of yet. I don't know. I didn't say no. I love him dearly, and I'm sure I'll think of it fondly in the future. But the whole situation is a little bizarre to me. You won't think fondly of it later. My husband did the same, and I'm still a bit bitter and resent the fact that he didn't do it nicely. My mum, 26 years later, brings up her disappointment with her proposal. In my dad's defense, it was where they had their first date, and he was trying to make it special. But in my mum's defense, it was a crowded crab shack. Oh no. Please stop telling OP she doesn't truly love him if she is so upset. My dad proposed to my mum in the back of a car. She told me years later that it didn't come off as romantic. It came off as lazy and last minute. That's probably how OP feels. However, they got married and they are still together to this day. They still love each other, even though my mum was very disappointed by my dad's proposal to her. If you love him in spite of what he did, marry him. And OP replies, thank you for the comment. I'm glad to have that kind of feedback and story. I do believe that I'll get over it. It's just a, shoot, too bad kind of feeling that I'm dealing with right now. I'm not gonna lie, it hurts when people call me a monster, hope that he leaves me, or that I don't love him when they have so little data about our relationship. And now back to the post. Update. I would like to address a few recurring questions or remarks. Maybe he was too excited to propose and couldn't wait. This is certainly possible. Many of you commented that this is what happened to them. I am not aware if that's the case yet. I will have to ask him tonight. If you don't like your proposal, why didn't you propose instead? I did offer to propose. I don't care who proposed. It's not because he's the man that he had to propose. He wanted to do it. Well, my partner proposed this way and I'm happy about it. I'm happy that this worked for you. Not everyone shares your view on engagement and what consists of a romantic gesture. And it's okay. The important thing is that both parties are alright with it in the end. This didn't work for me. Why can't you just be happy? I am happy. I can be disappointed by the proposal and be happy and excited about being engaged. I believe both things are not mutually exclusive. You sound like a controlling/abusive person/a bridezilla who will never be happy with what he does. Please realize that you make a ton of assumptions on myself and my relationship based on an anonymous post. You are so entitled. Some of you are acting as if what we wanted, reminder that we both brainstormed and wanted those things together, it wasn't purely my idea, was a 5-star hotel room, a fancy restaurant, a pony ride. While in reality, it was literally about a walk outside, living 20 minutes by foot near a forest that we often go to. I thought it was a sweet proposal. Among other things we talked about things we both liked and disliked. One of the things I disliked was the idea of being proposed to at home. Thank you to everyone who commented. I read as many comments as I could, whether they were "you're the arsehole," "not the arsehole," "no arseholes here," "everyone sucks here." Different opinions helped me. I decided to apologize for my behavior because I most probably hurt him. He's my partner. I don't want to hurt him no matter what. Considering the amount of things we talked about for a year or so, and how easy it was to make something we seemingly both wanted at some point, I now believe I have a right to being disappointed, while also being happy because he proposed. This is absolutely not a deal breaker for me. I will also have a conversation and understand why it happened this way, as there might be a reason, and then everything will be behind us. Would I be the asshole if I asked my dad to not bring his wife to my wedding? So I'm supposed to be getting married in less than a month. My fiancé, 30 male, and I, 28 female, have already delayed it once in the initial outbreak of COVID. Things were looking okay for a while, so we booked my workplace as our venue. I work in a historic home that functions as a restaurant and bed and breakfast and offers wedding packages. Anyway, restrictions have been tightened, and now it's a max of 10 people allowed for weddings, not including the officiant or the photographer. I'm already bummed that one of my grandparents won't make it due to surgery, but their health comes first for me. Which brings me to my dad's wife. I hesitate to call her a stepmother, since she did no mothering whatsoever to my sister and I. I find her to be a generally unpleasant person to be around, even though there's really nothing wrong with her. It feels more like an animal instinct when I'm around her, like my hackles are rising. She's never liked us either, and gave very preferential treatment to her daughter, who is 10 years my junior. Things will already be kinda tense at the wedding, since both my parents are still petty towards each other, even though they apparently made up years ago, for all the good that's done. And I just want this incredibly stressful event to just be over with. I don't want the added stress of having to play nice with someone that I truly don't give two Fs about. Would I be the arsehole if I asked my dad to just come alone so I can avoid all the unpleasantness? I feel like I'd be the arsehole since my dad would be alone, as the other guests are mostly from my mum's side. Edit. I should have added the context of the relationship with my dad too. I've never seen him as much of a father figure, more like a cool older guy friend I was raised with. I'm not close with my mother either due to her religious pressuring and general attitude of a preteen girl, but I figured that info might be a bit more helpful. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. My dad will be alone at the wedding with no one to talk to, and that makes me feel kinda crappy, but his wife makes him kind of insular. Now in the comments, not the asshole, but you should communicate it properly. Talk about key factors. 10 people limit, you and his wife aren't close to each other, you would like to make room for people that are close to your heart. In these situations, the father usually threatens to not come either and causes strain on your relationship with him. But that speaks volumes of what kind of person he is. Look, I'm a firm believer in the rule that it's your wedding day and you and your groom should do as you please. But I think you need to slow down and enjoy your own wedding. I get that it's stressful, you've had it postponed, your guests are limited. But in such a short post, you referred to your wedding as nothing other than a stressful event. It should be an amazing day. You are not the asshole, because you should make this day your best day and enjoy every minute. You're the asshole. A wedding guest generally brings their spouse. You don't even have a reason. How would you like it if next Christmas they invited you, but not your husband, because your husband makes your stepmother's hackles rise? You would go ballistic. And OP replies, not really. We see our families exclusive of each other pretty often. We have been together for a really long time, so those kinds of things are largely inconsequential. And now, onto the update. So, update for anyone who read my initial post from a few weeks ago. I actually did ask my dad this despite the general advice from commenters. I gave the reason as calmly and as logically as possible, and he was predictably unsupportive. I understand that, and so we've decided to postpone the wedding once more to July 11th. We were initially meant to be married on June 6th, our 10-year anniversary. My fiancé jokes that it's kinda awesome to get married on 7/11. Thanks to those who supported my question and called me out on it. I'll admit that I'm still conflicted, but both my dear husband and I decided that should the limitations remain at 10 people into July, we'll put both of our feet down and lay down our rules. Family be damned. I've spent enough time worrying and stressing about this day that I just want to enjoy the generosity of my workplace and the people who want to celebrate this milestone with us. I will not tolerate the pettiness that runs rampant in my family anymore. Now in the comments, 10 people is so limited. Anyone in the time of COVID should understand that only being able to have 10 people at a wedding means no plus ones. So that is 5 people on your side, 5 on your husband's side. Dad's wife just doesn't make the cut, regardless if you like her or not. I bet that there are people you do like who are going to not get an invite, and Dad needs to understand this. And OP replies, very much so. I'd love for other people to be there, it's just not possible. I don't want to get my workplace in trouble, or at worst, lose my job. I know your decision has been made, but I just went over to read the original post. I saw that you find your dad's wife to be rather unpleasant. Just wanted to say that it would be okay to decide that you didn't want her to come just for that reason alone, attendance limit or not. Your wedding is supposed to be about you, what you want, surrounded by the people you want there. I ask this sincerely, would you guys be happier just eloping? It sounds like you aren't exactly thrilled about having either of your parents there to begin with, based on your first post. And OP replies, it's funny. My dad always told me to elope when I was younger. As dear husband and I got further into our relationship, everyone kept asking when we'd get married. We've technically been married for about 8 years as common law spouses. Our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for telling my friend in the middle of a game that I wish he would just be toxic like a normal person instead of an annoying piece of crap? So me, 23, and my friends, male and female 21 to 24, play competitive MOBAs together, and usually we talk a little bit of crap here and there, but for the most part, we are pretty chill. However, one of my friends, male 24, has this really weird habit that pisses me off all the time. Essentially, the more badly the game is going, or the worse he is playing, the more he criticizes himself and talks about how terrible he is. The thing that drives me crazy about this is he's honestly by far the best player in our group, and whenever stuff goes wrong that obviously isn't his fault, he's just like, sorry guys, it's my fault. I'm playing like crap. This dude can be 9-0, and he will say that he got lucky and got carried by us. The other day, it got particularly bad when we had a series of games where it just went really badly, and he started getting noticeably frustrated. Again, he was doing the least bad in our group, and it would have been more fair to blame the other people in the group like me. And he started saying over and over how trash of a player he was, and how he was a trash human being that disappoints everyone in his family and all his friends. Like, holy crap. That's when I blew up and just said, I wish you would shut the F up and just be toxic like a normal person. Blame us, or blame the game like you should be, since you're doing so obviously better than the rest of us. You are being an annoying POS, with all this self-depreciating crap. He then apologized and then muted himself for the rest of the game. Afterwards, the rest of my friend group called me an asshole because he's actually depressed in real life. I just said being depressed doesn't give you the right to be an annoying asshole to everyone in the group. It's just like toxic modesty, which I feel like is worse and more annoying than someone actually just getting pissed off at people or the game like normal. So Reddit, am I the asshole for my statements? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I told off someone who was depressed, and that alone I could see might make me an asshole, which is why I'm unsure. Now in the comments, LOL says, "You're the asshole. There are better ways to tell him than that. He's clearly not doing great, and you are clearly not doing well being a friend." And OP replies, "Well, what do I even say to the dude when he's already attacking himself harder than anyone else possibly could? Like, I've tried in the past to be like, oh yeah, okay, fine, it's 100% your fault that we're losing. And he just agrees, and other people in our playgroup think I'm either joking or being a dick. So I don't know what I could even say to him to change this. OP, you could try shutting up about it. I would have pulled him aside in private, well, the digital equivalent of that, and talked to him about why he feels that way. He obviously has issues and needs help. His behavior is one of the common cries for help. Shutting him down can have drastic consequences for him. That said, you are not responsible for fixing him. As a friend, you probably should do your best anyway. Definitely don't do what you did though, if you care for him." And OP replies to that, "He never usually wants to talk about personal stuff outside of gaming because he doesn't want to be a burden on anyone." Yeah, so then leave him alone. He gets to choose who he talks to about it. The more that I read from you, the more I'm pretty sure you don't experience a lot of empathy. You don't seem like a very good friend or compassionate person. This can be fixed. In, truly, the kindest way possible, I suggest you see a therapist. It is not normal for this to bother you as much as it does. You're the asshole. The fact you want him to take his frustrations out on others is pretty damn toxic." And OP replies, "I mean, come on, I'd rather he blame me and cuss me out when it's my fault than this fake modesty crap. Oh, it's actually my fault because I should have done literally everything perfectly to win that fight by myself. That sort of thing drives me nuts. Do you think reiterating your annoyance is going to make me change my ruling in your favor, OP? If you like, I can change my judgment to you being the only asshole here." And OP replies, "It's just that I get frustrated in games and stuff. But since when is this considered a good outlet for it? It just feels more self-serving of a frustration begging for sympathy points." Fine, you convinced me. You're the only asshole here. And now onto the update. Well, this has been a rollercoaster to say the least. I was quite clearly raked over the coals by you guys the last time as being a clear asshole. I did a lot of soul searching over the weekend, trying to wrap my mind around how wrong I was, and I decided to talk to one of my friends who's going into psychiatry to learn some more about depression, since as most of you told me, I needed to educate myself on it. My playgroup basically kicked me out over this, and after seeing things from another perspective, I realized that they had every reason to. Yesterday, I gave a more personal apology to my friend, where I apologized for being an asshole and ignorant about how he was feeling. I then had a long talk with him about where he was at with his life and how he was feeling, and holy crap, I didn't know how bad things were for him. Obviously, for privacy's sake, I'm not going to elaborate on that further, but needless to say, I honestly see him in a completely new light with regards to everything, and I'm actually shocked how despite everything that has happened to him, he's able to be such an awesome person and friend to everyone. Speaking of him being an awesome person, he convinced everyone in my playgroup to let me play with them again and not to hold anything against me. I'm honestly lucky as hell here. I should be down multiple friends, and yet I've made it out somehow unscathed. Ironically enough, I now feel a bit guilty about that. I've told him that I'll be around if he ever needs to talk to someone, and I'm hoping that I can turn a new chapter in our friendship. One more positive, and actually fitting of the title friend. Thank you to everyone who helped me understand my failings and why I was being an awful person. In particular, I'd like to thank user Seasonal Garden Ho for their understanding and repeated attempts to get through to me. The particular comment they left that really struck a chord with me was actually this one. You know Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh? You know how all his friends act with him, and how they don't get angry with him? This actually meant more than they probably realized to me, because Winnie the Pooh was one of my favorite things to both read and watch as a kid. So thank you. If I had any awards to give, I would give them to you. Now in the comments, congrats. I hope you become a good friend to him from now on, and I'm happy that Reddit got through to you. Hey there, OP. That's a wholesome update. Everyone makes mistakes, and it's okay to work on yourself and be a better person. Just be there for your friend and keep in mind that everyone, no matter how well you know them, has their own stuff going on. And OP replies, yeah, I definitely need to be more aware of what's going on with others, not just how I feel about things all the time. I really love seeing updates like this. You really are lucky to have such a good friend. I hope that you're able to really do better and be more patient. Oh goodness, this is one of the best outcomes I've seen from this page. Good job, you. And OP replies, thank you. I'm trying my best to be better. I'm glad you were able to see the error in your ways. Keep checking in on your friend. As someone who's been in deep depression, that helps more than you might realize. Just knowing there's someone who cares enough to listen can really make a difference. And OP replies, I'm hoping I can work on myself as well, so I can actually be there for my friends without doing damage rather than helping. Our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for refusing to pay for my friend's EpiPen? I have a housemate, Jillian, 26 female, who is severely allergic to peanuts. There are 5 of us who rent a house together, and we all agreed to put a label on our food containers to help keep Jillian safe and avoid contamination. I have a mini fridge in my room where I store my drinks so that I don't have to go to the kitchen if I want to drink in the middle of the night. Well, last Friday, my Filipino girlfriend gave me an authentic Filipino dish for lunch at work. It's called kare-kare. It's an oxtail stew with a rich peanut sauce. It's in a glass container, and I saved some so I can have it for dinner. When I got home, I put it in my mini fridge, but I forgot to eat it that night because we ordered pizza for dinner. On Saturday, I went out with my girlfriend and got home at around 9 p.m. When I arrived, Jillian's girlfriend, Trish, confronted me, saying I almost killed Jillian. I didn't know what she was talking about, and she went on saying how irresponsible of me not to label the food in my mini fridge. I asked one of our housemates what the hell happened, and he said Jillian had an allergic reaction to my stew because I didn't put a label on the container. I told them it's inside my personal mini fridge, and how dare they enter my room. Trish said they were looking for beer when they saw my stew. She and another housemate ate it, Jillian only tasted it, and she had an anaphylactic shock where they had to use the EpiPen to stop the swelling. Trish then demanded that I need to pay for the EpiPen. I told them that that's not going to happen. If anything, they should apologize to me for trespassing and stealing my food. They called me an asshole. She and 3 other housemates said that I nearly cost Jillian her life, and the least I could do is apologize and pay for the EpiPen. Am I the asshole? Edit for more info, Jillian was taken to the hospital. No, I never gave anyone any permission to enter my room. They were drinking that time and were looking for more beer. They ate the dish with some rice that they found on top of the mini fridge. I think Jillian ate some rice that had sauce on it. I didn't get to ask the details of what exactly happened. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I think I may be the asshole because what happened to Jillian was more serious than the fact that they entered the room without my permission and stole my food. I should have been more concerned about Jillian and, like they said, pay for her EpiPen. Now in the comments, not the asshole. Literally none of this would have happened if they had not invaded your space without your permission, taken food that didn't belong to them, and then eaten said food. Perhaps this can be a lesson to them in the future, to not enter a space they don't have permission to enter, and to not eat food that they do not have permission to eat. Exactly. Also, was the intention of labeling the food to identify whose food it was, or that it was deadly to the roomie? If the former, wouldn't the food being in OP's room suffice as proof that it was OP's? And if the latter, then stay the hell out of someone else's space and you won't get hurt. The roomie's argument seems akin to someone crying foul that you beat them when they broke into your house at night. Yeah, it was Jillian's greed that nearly cost her her life. The least she can do is stop being greedy. Exactly. I have an allergy that's not life-threatening, but still inconvenient. And even I don't take stuff from other people when I am not sure if it is safe, especially if it's in their own room. Yeah, Jillian is not long for this world if she keeps eating mystery dishes with that severe of a peanut allergy. Not the arsehole. You're right, but good luck convincing them. For what it's worth, I have a friend who's allergic to peanuts and carries EpiPens, and I cannot imagine them touching unlabeled food. That's nuts, haha. I have a very mild peanut allergy. Eating one would mean an unpleasant evening, but not require any sort of medication. I would still never eat some anonymous food in a shared fridge, let alone somebody else's fridge. Seriously, what the hell? Especially the type of dish that I imagine this looking like. That's ignoring the fact that peanuts have a pretty distinct smell. I can only imagine that she's used to her parents taking full responsibility for the allergy, in which case the OP has probably inadvertently taught her a valuable lesson, as if it happened outside of her home, it might have had much worse results. Obviously not the arsehole, unless someone directly lied to you. Nobody else is responsible for your allergies. And now back to the post, we have an update. So I visited Jillian in the hospital today, and she apologized to me for what happened. It was an accident. She said she didn't eat my kare, but took some rice. She didn't realize that some sauce got on the rice bowl, so there was clearly a cross-contamination. It wasn't her who went into my room. It was Trish and another roommate, Ian. I will be charging them for the stolen beer and food. And I will definitely buy a lock after this incident. Thank you all for your advice, judgment, and awards. Am I the arsehole for getting mad at my depressed friend and telling him to go home for getting on my nerves? This story consists of me, 19 male, my depressed friend Jake, 17 male, our friend Peter, 18 male, and his girlfriend Savannah, 18 female. This is my first group of friends with good vibes. My other friend circle never got along well and were extremely toxic, so it's nice having great friends with an interesting dynamic for once. While I love my friends and group, there's one person that stands out, and it's my mutual friend Jake. He's not really part of our circle, but he always insists on hanging out with us whenever we make plans. Don't get me wrong, he's a nice kid, but he really gets on my nerves sometimes. He kills the mood whenever he's around due to his really bad depression and social anxiety. His mental health problems make it hard to connect with him, and when he's with us, he just seems so lost. Like he doesn't want to be there, even though he's the one who invited himself. He has nothing useful to say and seems so uninterested. I don't get why he wants to hang out with us when he doesn't seem to enjoy it. Last weekend, we planned to meet at a restaurant for lunch, and of course, Jake asked if he could come. I didn't want to be a dick, so I told him that he could tag along. While my friends and I were joking around and having fun, Jake sat there the whole time barely talking. He just gave a few laughs and then went silent. This annoyed the hell out of me. So later that night, I sent him a text asking why he insisted on joining us if he was only going to sit there and not contribute to the conversation. I told him he should just stay home if he wasn't going to participate at all. He apologized for being an inconvenience and said that he'd stop asking. He told Peter and Savannah why he stopped hanging out with us, and the two of them were pissed. They kept throwing his mental health in my face to make me feel bad, saying, "He's depressed, stop being mean to him." But I don't think that I am being mean. If he isn't having fun or contributing, then why waste his time with us when he could be doing something more interesting? Why does he feel the need to stick with us and ruin our nights out with his unenthusiastic personality? I think I might be the asshole because he doesn't have a lot of friends, and he hasn't talked to me at all this week. He must be really upset right now, and I'm starting to feel bad. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I think I'm the asshole because I told my friend to stop inviting himself to hang out with us if he wasn't going to add anything meaningful to the conversation. He doesn't have a lot of friends, so I think I might have screwed up on this. Now in the comments, dude, let's cut the BS. You are not actually all that concerned that your friend with mental health issues could be doing something more interesting with his time. You're annoyed that his mental health issues are squashing your good time because you appear to lack any empathy towards the guy whatsoever, and instead of treating him like an actual friend and human being, you are placing a valuation on him based on how much he contributes to your enjoyment. You're the asshole. Completely agree. He even says, while my friends and I joked around, Jake just sat there. He isn't even including Jake as being a friend. He specifically says he tags along. He isn't really part of the circle of friends. He really doesn't like Jake or care one way or the other. He views him as a hanger-on. He wishes he would get lost so he didn't have to keep putting up with him. You're the asshole. Why does it hurt you if he just sits there and listens? Maybe he likes being with you all because he wants to be fun and outgoing, and he's trying, but it takes all of his bloody effort to actually go. Depression is awful. You feel so alone, and your head tells you that you're an inconvenience and nobody likes you, and you have to force yourself to believe that isn't true. Except in Jake's case, you told him those thoughts were true. Depression isn't something he can switch off because you don't like it. He can't help the way he is, and it's a constant battle with your own mind. Sometimes it takes every ounce of energy to get out of bed or force yourself out the door, and here he is actually committing to plans and trying to join in. You mentioned your other friendship groups were toxic, and to be honest, it sounds as though you were at least part of the problem. What an insensitive and awful thing to do to someone. How bad is his depression? Is he suicidal? Because a message like that could be all he needed to push him over, and how much of an asshole would you feel then? And now back to the post. Edits. Oof. I'm definitely the asshole. I've read all of your replies, and now I see where I went wrong. I asked him if he wants to meet up tomorrow, and he said yes. It'll be just the two of us, and I'm going to apologize to him for being a giant D-bag. And now on to the update. You guys made it very clear that what I did was messed up, and I see that now. When I sent the text, I wasn't thinking about how it would hurt him. I was only thinking about myself and my own feelings. After reading your replies, I realized just how wrong and stupid I really am. I sent him a text asking him if he wanted to do something with me, just the two of us. I wasn't expecting an answer, but to my surprise, he said yes. When we met up, I apologized for what I said to him. I emphasized my guilt and made it clear that he is not a burden or an inconvenience, and that I was cruel for making him feel that way. I let him know that I'll be there for him if he ever needs anyone, and that I'll do my best to be a better friend. The conversation turned emotional, he started crying, and I'd be lying if I said I didn't get teary-eyed too. I'm usually good at keeping myself together, but watching other people cry makes it hard not to. We hugged it out, and everything went well from there. He told me about his mental health and how it's been spiraling over the years. I won't go into detail about what he told me out of respect for him, but he's been through a lot, and I had to hug him again after he told me because I felt so bad for him. Hearing about his experiences with depression and anxiety has really opened my eyes. Before all this, I didn't think those things were a big deal, but I was so freaking wrong. Talking to him and reading through your comments explaining what it's like to be depressed and how difficult it is to overcome it really helped change my perspective. So thank you for the harsh words of advice. You guys really slapped some sense into me. I'm just relieved I was able to make things right with him. I thought he'd hate me for what I said, but he is so kind and understanding that he was willing to hear me out and accept my apology. I don't deserve his generosity, but I'll try my best to give it back in return. Now in the comments, glad to hear it was a learning experience. Mental health is no joke. You were young, and I certainly never had an education in mental health when I was your age. I'm really glad some life learning happened, and it sounds like you deepened a friendship. Good luck. This one feels like a twofer. Jake got a better friend and better support, and OP was open-minded and grew as a person. Not like you needed random stranger approval, but I'm proud of you. And OP replies, oddly enough, that makes me happy. Thank you. Your update was very touching. I got teary-eyed myself. Coincidentally, my good friend relapsed this past week and is in a state of severe depression. I saw her yesterday. It was heartbreaking to see her so frail, completely withered, and hiding alone all by herself in her house. I reached out to her day after day, no response. Knocked on her door, nothing. I knew something was wrong. Miraculously, after I asked her on text if I can come over and bring her food, she responded yes. She asked for a Big Mac meal. I brought it. She was so happy. She told me she had not eaten anything in 2 days. She looked like a skeleton. We sat in bed watching a comedy movie. We laughed, we cried together, I hugged her over and over, and I told her I'm there for her. Sorry for the long story. I'm new to Reddit, so I know there's all these rules on commenting. My point is, your story touched me, and thank you for doing the right thing and taking accountability for your actions. Thank you for making things right. Not everyone can put their pride aside and do what you did. Our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for denying my boyfriend more time to himself? My boyfriend, 37 male, let's call him Ron, and I, 22 female, had a baby, 9 months male, this past August. The baby wasn't planned, Ron never wanted kids, and I was supposed to be infertile, so the positive pregnancy test was a shock. We talked about it and decided to raise the baby. So far so good. I took 1 year of full maternity leave. I was supposed to come back this August, and was recently laid off by my employer. So after the baby was born, I cared for him full time. Ron did all the chores and his 40-hour-a-week job. After about 3 weeks, went to see a therapist. Left the baby at my mum's because Ron didn't feel like he could take care of him all alone. The therapist suggested that I take 3 hours a day for myself to catch some sleep or read or play video games or whatever. Just some not baby time. Ron is caring for the baby during these hours, and it's been going pretty well actually. We divided the chores since we also divide the baby care, and now our tasks look like this. Me, 21 hours a day baby care, laundry, clean the bathroom, meal planning and making grocery lists, 50% grocery shopping, 50% cooking, and 50% dishes. Him, 3 hours per day baby care, during his days off too, vacuum once a week, 50% grocery shopping, 50% cooking, 50% dishes, 8 hours per day job. This has been going well for months now. Like I said above, I am now unemployed, meaning that I'm financially dependent on Ron. To change that, I made an OnlyFans. I now spend most of these 3 hours making videos and photos, cutting and editing, taxes, etc. A few days ago, Ron said that he would like more time to himself, which I found unfair for multiple reasons. 1. His job isn't killing him. He's in home office and arranged his work computer and his personal computer in an L shape, so he can play video games during work. He's in tech support, and most of the day there aren't any calls or mails to do, so he just plays games. I'm not standing beside him all the time, but if I had to guess, I'd say that 25 to 40% of his work is purely games. 2. He can sleep through the night. I put the baby down in the evening, I stand up at night when he wakes up, I stand up with him in the morning, which means that Ron can sleep from the end of his shift, usually 11 p.m., to 9 a.m. when he takes over the baby. The ability to get full sleep is something that I would take into consideration. 3. He gets plenty of time to himself already. He has from 12 p.m. to about 2 p.m. when he gets ready for work, and he has from the end of his shift to whenever he goes to sleep. This is more than I have, especially with me working now. And 4, additionally to the usual baby care, feeding, diapering, cuddling, playing, I organize all the doctor's appointments, the get-to-know with daycare, all the bureaucratic stuff that comes with a baby. I laid down the reasons why I don't think he should get more time to himself yesterday. He got a little huffy, but dropped the topic for peace's sake, and we haven't talked about it since. So Reddit, it's up to you. Am I the asshole or not? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I got second thoughts after my family, especially my parents and grandparents, told me that he needs more time for himself because he's working a full-time job. I now think that maybe I'm not holding his time to the same value that I hold my time, and that's why I could also be the asshole. His job is his job after all, and since he's the sole breadwinner, he should also get time to rest. On the other hand, it's his baby too, and I'm allowed to chill as well. Now in the comments, yeah, you're the asshole. You say that his job isn't killing him when you haven't worked at all. He splits the chores with you 50-50, works and cares for the baby when he's not. His only downtime is just before and after work. Caring for a baby isn't work? OnlyFans isn't work. I agree. He deserves some dedicated downtime just as you do. What is his time and attention before and after work usually taken up by? Probably all the chores that you outlined. Let the man have an hour to himself. His mental health and recharge is important too. Also consider the time that you're using for OnlyFans. If you're putting in more effort than you're earning, you should probably reconsider. And OP replies, he does his chores in the 3 hours that he has with the baby. Before and after work, he is on his computer and playing video games. Okay, and have you tried talking to him about what he actually needs more time for? Or spoken to him about being more proactive, about taking time for his mental well-being, and being proactive about it? Like actually dedicating time to mindfulness and mental stretching breaks, rather than consuming media to prevent the occurrence of a thought, and then still being as drained as he was before. Have you considered the latter for yourself as well? You are taking on more than I understand your desire to contribute, but you need to dedicate time to yourself and not get caught up in taking care of everything else. It's hard being a new mum, but you will get there. And OP replies, I suggested spending less time on his phone or computer multiple times throughout our relationship, but he always shut me down. He hates not having his brain flooded. His words, not mine. Not to sound mean, but where exactly should I get time for myself? The only times that I don't spend dealing with a tiny poo monster is going to earn some money and sleeping, and this whole thing that we are discussing right now is about moving my 3 hours somewhere else. Meaning into my sleeping hours, so he gets more time. I already don't have any time to recharge, and we're talking about cutting my sleeping hours down now. You are caring for the baby 21 hours every day. Of course you're not the asshole. Your husband needs to have an honest look at the very clear disparity in responsibility here. Not the asshole. It seems like you have a fairly even division of chores, except you have majority of childcare, and you use your 3 hours of me time to work to bring in extra income. Ron did not want kids. You thought you were infertile, but you talked about it after you became pregnant and made the decision to keep the child. Spending time actually caring and tending to the child is part of raising it. Info. How did you and Ron meet? How were things divided before the baby? And OP replies, we were colleagues a few years ago. Before the baby, we used to do things either together or divided 50-50. And now on to the update. The overbearing opinion was that I was not pulling my weight and that I'm the arsehole, so I reconsidered and discussed the issue with my boyfriend again. We changed up the following things. I cut my sleeping time down to 3 to 5 hours and work while the baby is sleeping. He doesn't have to care for the baby anymore. I care for him 24/7 on work days and days off. I do all the chores except vacuuming once a week, so now he can sleep in on his days off and spend his free time doing whatever he feels like. I work at night and care for the baby during the day. We have been trying it out for 2 days now, and even though I'm dead tired, it fills me with joy to see how relaxed he is. Thank you for all of your advice. It really helped us in our everyday life. I hope you have a good weekend. Am I the asshole for telling my niece to ditch her mum and live with me? So, in my family, we have a term, oops baby, for the unplanned family members. This should be a clue that my family sucks. I was an oops baby, and so was my eldest niece. Now long story short, My mum was a crappy parent to me, and I recognize the same thing happening with my sister and niece. Both were better parents to their other, non-oops children. Niece has graduated from a prestigious uni with a good degree in law, and is doing the next stages in her profession. Her parents are trying to steer her to a specific field, and she doesn't want to go that way. I know her, and it won't suit her. Other than letting her vent, I haven't been involved until her parents told her that she either does as she's told, or they withdraw their support, and she will effectively be homeless and would have to give up on her dream anyway. She called me up to vent and I said, "I'll support you. Tell my sister to go F herself and I can support you." Here's where I might be the asshole. Her parents don't like how competitive her field is. They don't like that her first 3 years are basically unpaid internship and that she'll be taken away from her family. They say that if she takes their route, it's a guaranteed income and 99% a secure job at their end. My boyfriend says I did the right thing and she needs someone to encourage her, but my mum is convinced I'm the asshole for getting involved and putting her feet on a dangerous path. Edit: financially, all of the older adults are secure. We can all afford to support niece for the foreseeable future. Also, boyfriend was aware that I'd considered this prior to the offer. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. Her parents' concerns are real. It is a challenging field with strong competition and a little reward in the early years. Am I the asshole for encouraging her to follow such a risky path? Now in the comments, she's an adult, and her parents are trying to blackmail her into the future that they think is best for her. She gets to choose her own future. You are not the asshole as long as your support is for the full time that she will need to complete her unpaid internship. Exactly. It would have been no assholes here if her parents weren't blackmailing her into the career path that they think is best. Wanting their child to have a stable career is a legitimate concern, but blackmailing her with homelessness made them the assholes. Not the asshole, OP. You are an amazing aunt for supporting your niece. I hope the best for your niece in her future career endeavors. Not the asshole. At least as it relates to the specific question. You're not the asshole for offering your niece a place to live if she wants to pursue the type of law that she wants. But your sister is also not the asshole for wanting her child to pursue a field with guaranteed employment. Also, your niece is not the asshole for whatever decision that she makes. Dreams versus stability is a really hard choice to make. Unrelated to the situation at hand, and I'll write a judgment comment in a minute, but oops baby is not unique to your family. Babies are an occasional result of sex no matter what precautions are taken, even when we least expect it. The crappy thing is giving kids shtick about it when, who were the ones that oopsed versus innocent parties to the moment in question? And OP replies, assumed it wasn't unique, but figured constantly telling your child they were a mistake was less common. One of my friends was an oops baby, and his parents made it well known that he was. He had 2 siblings that were 20 plus years older than him, and then a younger brother. His parents would constantly tell him he wasn't planned, but his brother was because they had to have another baby to give him a companion growing up. It always made me feel so uncomfortable hearing it. And now on to the update. It's been about a month since I posted this, and as it did pretty well, I thought people might want an update. So we had a conversation. My first question was, what are her chances of getting through her current year, the biggest bottleneck, and she said her supervisor believes that it's as close to guaranteed as it could be, and about what she actually needed from me financially, etc. It was less than I thought. Her internship actually pays her rent and leaves her with pocket change for other monthly outgoings. She really needs support with utilities and food. When I looked at her budget, I was impressed with how frugal she's been. Pissed at my sister for making her scrape by, as she has a fresh fruit budget in her second treat section, FFS. Something I didn't make clear in my initial post is that my family are wealthy. We come from privileged backgrounds and all have good incomes. This was never about financial constraints. I've taken on my niece's bills and increased her allowance. And something that I wasn't aware of prior to this is that my boyfriend pays her gym membership. They've known each other for years, and apparently when she left uni and was lamenting losing the cheap gym, he offered her a gym membership for her birthday, or birthdays. We decided to have a video conference with her parents to tell them, as COVID was stopping face-to-face. She thanked them all for all they had done for her, thanked them for supporting her, and said she knew they were only wanting to look out for her with their concerns. I stepped in and said that I know it's difficult for parents to watch their kids take risks, but that you have to let them try, and that I would be supporting the niece from now on. My sister snapped. She called me an interfering C-word and said that I was leading her daughter astray. My niece stepped in, and her mum called her ungrateful and basically said that she was a disappointment. I'm not gonna lie, I lost it. I tore sister a new one, told her that she'd gone from rich daddy to rich hubby without ever having a job, while I had joined the army and secured a well-paying job on discharge, and if anyone was a disappointment, it was her as a mother. I told her that she was living down to the standard our mother set with me. My niece ended the call. So my mother called and abused me a bit, but honestly, it felt like a light had gone on. A few of you asked why I cared what my mother thought, and all of a sudden I didn't. I had seen my mother's behavior in my sister, and it felt like the spell broke. I told her to do one and hung up. I feel bad my niece may have lost contact with her family, but she seems to feel good about it. I'm proud of her, especially as she was the only one who behaved like an adult in the end. Edit. Holy crap, you're all so lovely, and thank you all for the kind words, the awards, and the sweet messages. I've read all of them, and you made me cry happy tears. I'm gonna see my niece again next month, and I'll give her an extra hug from all of you. Edit 2. You can only post one update per original post, and I really didn't think this would need another update, but stuff happened and here we are. My niece, boyfriend, and I met up, and she had news. She had made it through the year 1 cull and had secured a really good entry position in the team. Basically, she got exactly what she wanted, and it was clear that she was really excited and really enjoying her new role. Any doubts I may have had about this being the right thing vanished seeing her so happy. We took her out for a meal to celebrate, dropped her home, and boyfriend and I talked about getting her a car as a new role means she can't rely on public transport. About a fortnight later, I get a call late at night, and it was a hospital telling me my mother is in hospital and it doesn't look good. Apparently I'm down as her ICE number. I have no idea why, maybe because I'm medical, maybe to mess with me? I call the rest of family and make my way to the hospital. Boyfriend drives me because I was post 14-hour shift. In hospital, mom is awake but her numbers are crap and it's obvious she's on the way out. She uses her final words to tell me that I'm a disappointment, I ruined not only my life, but now my niece's too, and I've spoiled another mother-daughter relationship. I say nothing and walk out. She died a few hours later. I called my niece to tell her, and she checks I'm okay, and boyfriend puts me to bed. I then wake up to a phone showing multiple missed calls and messages, 99+, from my sister, and a few from other siblings, saying that now that I've put my mother in an early grave, I should give up on my niece. Boyfriend was on phone with niece who had received similar calls. A few days later, my 2 sisters showed up at the door with an aunt to barge in and berate me. I will admit I slipped a bit, because I reverted to the 16-year-old I once was, throwing sarcasm and bile. My boyfriend stepped in and threw them out, physically with the oldest sister. So now I'm legally no contact with family, and niece is too. We've got niece a wee city car, and we're both going to therapy after all this. Now in the comments, your niece didn't lose her family. She has you, and that's her family. It's wonderful you've stepped up for her. I hope she succeeds in fulfilling her dreams and proves to her awful parents how wrong they are. And OP replies, lol, my boyfriend said something similar. You're bound to succeed now, mate. You got Spite on your side. Don't worry, when your niece has a well-paying job in a field she loves, her mum will still take credit for it all. You and your boyfriend are amazing. I hope your niece smashes her life goals. I have no doubt she will with the support that you're giving her. And OP replies, Honestly, I could brag about my boyfriend all day. This post, the response to it, has made me realize what I've done is a good thing too. It sounds egotistical when I put it like that. No, not egotistical at all. I can't believe your family made you doubt yourself and your kindness. You literally just changed her whole life story for nothing other than your pure love for her. It's obvious you didn't expect the accolades, but you sure as crap deserve them. Being proud of yourself isn't always egotistical. You deserve to enjoy this moment of pride in your actions. The idea that it's egotistical to ever be proud of yourself is probably the result of your toxic upbringing. Our next post is titled, "Would I be the arsehole for not going to my brother's wedding?" So my brother and I used to be really close. We both struggled with having shitty, abusive parents, and we leaned on each other for support. That was until he met Sarah. Sarah has changed him. He stopped hanging out with me, and he stopped talking to me, so now we barely talk. I'm certain that Sarah is responsible for the change. As a child, I was very sick, having many different problems, including a cancerous lump that was removed. Not a big deal, as I recovered, and I was too young to really understand most of it, but some of those issues carried on into my adulthood. Sarah came up to me about a year ago and started discussing these problems with me, giving me advice that wasn't the least bit helpful and was only condescending. Sarah's good at this. She makes judgmental little comments all the time. The thing is, even my best friends don't know about these issues because I never talk about them. My brother has never been included in discussions about them, nor was my dad when I reached a certain age. I only discussed this stuff with my mom. I can barely talk to doctors about it, and yet my brother told Sarah everything he knew. 2 years ago, they got engaged. They told me by showing up at my work with all the family. They also had lunch at my work, and I had to watch our families have lunch together while I worked and couldn't join. I then found out it was only at my work because my dad forced him to tell me about the engagement before he posted it over social media, which he initially wasn't going to do. He had intended for me to find out with his Facebook friends, even though my parents and her family were all told personally. Fast forward to the start of this year. I had a mental breakdown in March and faced losing my flat. My brother stole a key and let himself and Sarah in so they could stand and judge me while I was struggling. He took pictures of me that ended up being used for blackmail, but that's a different story. I later found out that he tried to convince my mother to section me and have me committed to the mental hospital. Way to kick a girl when she's down. A couple of months ago, I found out that Sarah's sister is the maid of honor. Her brother is a witness, her cousins are signing, her parents are bell ringing, my mother is doing the flowers, and my father is a priest who is conducting the ceremony. And I'm not included. I'm the only person in the family who isn't included in some way. And that brings us to last night. I found a wedding invitation in my mother's kitchen. It turns out that the invites have been sent out, and I didn't get one. My brother seems to think that I don't deserve my own invitation. I also found that the date he's chosen is the day before my birthday. So now my birthday will always be eclipsed by his wedding anniversary. Am I the asshole for not deciding to go to the wedding? My mother said that I was overreacting and that he's my brother and I should just be supportive. Now in the comments, it seems like he's doing everything he can to make you feel unwelcome. Why don't you arrange to do something different for that day so even if he does ask, you have a valid excuse? Sorry, I've got a weekend away scheduled with a friend. If it's affecting your mental health as much as it sounds, you have no reason to put yourself through this. And nobody wants you to bottle up your feelings only to explode and make a scene on the day. I would seriously consider cutting off any toxic family members that are pulling this kind of crap. Not the asshole, and good luck. And OP replies, he used to be my favorite person, and even though this is going on, the thought of cutting him off completely breaks my heart. It's cleaner to break your own heart once than to let someone else break it every single day. And OP also has her own comment and says, I only just remembered this small detail since some people have mentioned it. I am technically not invited since I didn't receive an invitation, but they still expect me to go. Sarah even asked me to buy her £500 Louboutins as her wedding present. You do realize how ridiculous that sounds, right? I've got to say, after everything you've written about, if you still go, you are way past any kind of help that Reddit can provide. And OP replies, touché. As much as you love your brother and family, don't let yourself be their doormat. You are so much better than that. Just the fact that you are hesitant in going no contact with them and asking this question shows your sincere care and empathy. They quite frankly sound like trashy, self-serving people, so give yourself space and time to heal and flourish without their toxicity. We're all rooting for you. Good luck. Info. I think we need to revisit this blackmail. What the hell? Why would they just let themselves into your apartment? What were you doing that was so awful that it could be used for blackmail? It sounds like a big 180 for your brother. Are you quite sure there's nothing you've done to affect the change? This all sounds quite one-sided and doesn't really make any sense. And OP replies, the blackmail was from someone else. It was just pictures that he took and sent around that caused it. In the midst of my breakdown, I had trashed the place, and it was really bad and I wasn't looking after myself. He sent these pictures to his friend, who sent them to an ex-friend of mine who I had cut off after they owed me money and a bunch of other stuff. They attempted to use these images as blackmail, and then posted them over Facebook. It was a big 180 for him, but I don't know what I could have done that was bad enough for this. I'm an average annoying little sister, but other than that, I don't know. And someone replies to OP, also, I'm sorry to tell you, but this is not his fiance's fault. She may be enabling him to act out in ways that he never did before, but you really need to fully accept and always remember that he did these things. If they break up and he tries to come crawling back into your life, do not expect that he will be the person that he once was. If he does come back and tries to resume the relationship, understand he is still the person who chose to do all of these things. And OP replies, I bear that in mind. Thank you. And now on to the update. I'm still getting messages asking for updates, so here it is. My parents eventually came around and have now seen Sarah's behavior firsthand. They bought my brother a car as a wedding present. It wasn't new, but it ran great. But Sarah shat all over it because it wasn't brand new or a make that she approved of. They basically told her that it wasn't hers, and she could either get in it or not. They also saw how opinionated they both are at Christmas. Sarah said that we were all horrible people because we had Amazon Prime subscriptions. My mother now supports me not going to the wedding. She's not happy about it, but she understands. I will be going camping with my friends instead for the entire week. I haven't spoken to my brother or Sarah since that last post, and they've been pissing off more and more people lately with their attitude. For those who suggested I go no contact with my whole family, that doesn't logistically work as I depend on them for financial support, and due to being a student, I can't get support elsewhere. Also, my university graduation is a week or so after the wedding, and neither my brother nor Sarah are invited, and they both dropped out before graduating. Thank you to everyone who offered advice and kind words. And to the couple people who messaged me to offer shoulders to lean on, it was nice to know internet strangers cared when my family didn't. Now in the comments, best to stay no contact with your brother and Sarah. Notice when they didn't have you to kick around anymore, they started doing it to others. But also keep in mind that it's okay to mourn the loss of the relationship that you had with your brother. I'm glad your parents are finally seeing Sarah and your brother for who they are. You need to do what's best for you. I have a question though. Did you get the key to your place that they stole back? If you didn't, you need to get your place rekeyed. If you did, you need to figure out how they got it and formulate a better plan so you can be safe in your own home. I'm glad to hear that you seem to be doing better, and congratulations on graduating. And OP replies, thanks. I actually moved and now no one has a key but me. They got it through a now ex-friend who was looking after a spare key for emergencies. Unfortunately for me, this ex-friend is one of Sarah's friends and one of her bridesmaids. I've pretty much cut off all these people now. Wow. It boggles my mind the amount of betrayal you've talked about just in the small amount you've shared. I really hope you do well in life. I really hope you're at peace with yourself with cutting toxic people out of your life. You deserve better. Can you just tell us more about the blackmail pictures they took when you were sick? This has upset me so much, it literally makes me feel ill. I want to crash the wedding and object because it sounds like she's bringing out the worst in him, which means it's an unhealthy relationship, for if it were healthy, they would bring out the best in each other. I feel so sorry, my friend. I just can't even wrap my mind around how someone, let alone your big brother, could do a thing like this. Sending so many good vibes your way. Hopefully the bride steps on a Lego while walking down the aisles, trips into a ladder, and is subsequently splashed with red paint from head to toe. And OP replies, basically, they took pictures of my flat, or apartment, or whatever you want to call it, which was horribly messy and not cleaned because I couldn't. It was like an episode of Hoarders, honestly. And also some pictures of me, not fully dressed, hair matted, looking like a psycho. I really wasn't well at this stage. They sent those photos to some friends of mine who it had turned out were quite toxic and had been talking about me behind my back and who had attempted to steal my cat. And those friends tried to use those photos to get money from me they felt I owed them, which I didn't. The photos were then posted on Facebook and stuff as ransom and were only removed after someone reported the posts and got them taken down. I don't know who, as I was blocked from the posts. The blackmail wasn't from my brother and Sarah, but was caused by them when they sent the pictures to people they had no business sending them to. My brother did try to convince my mother to have me sectioned with the photos though. I also can't really wrap my mind around what my brother has been doing, but to me, my brother is gone. He doesn't exist anymore. There's just a man walking around with his face. I haven't been in contact with him now for more than a year, and while it does still hurt sometimes, I've moved on. As for the wedding, from what I was told, it was a terrible day. Lots of things that made me laugh when I was told, which may be considered mean, but I think it was deserved. Most people who went didn't have a good time, and I'm told that many people left early. All of this was much to my delight, not gonna lie. My birthday and graduation were fantastic though, surrounded by people I care about and who care about me. Thank you for your good vibes. Things are so different for me now compared to when I made my original post. I'm happier, genuinely happy, and I'm starting my master's degree. I have my own house that I share with my best friend, and it is clean and tidy. No more blackmail. This has turned into a mini update, but oh well. Thank you for your continued concern and interest.